Hello, legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast, episode quite round 290. In terms of video update, it is episode 68 that is in a video format, but in general, the episode of the podcast and underpinning blog post is number 290, which means 290 days of consecutive writing and recording of the podcast is happening now. So this is 290th day, and it feels quite surreal if you imagine that it's not so far from getting into a 1 year of writing and recording what I was suspecting to maybe not fail, but knowing my character and the way that I used to start things and you know, not finish them or finish them actually earlier than suspected. It is quite surreal. 290 days. In about 10 days, it will be roughly 10 times longer than anything I've done in my life, I would say, in terms of routines or habits. Of course, I have everyday habits and routines that I maintain, those small things that I repeat every day. But there are things that probably could be better executed. Some of the routines are not beneficial for me, so I could potentially replace them. It's one of the best mechanisms to introduce or make yourself do something good by replacing the bad habit with the good habit, because many of us want to start new better habits in life, and the problem is that our brains are at capacity most of the time. Our days are usually considered by the brain as scheduled, even though we probably have a lot of longer periods during the day where we do nothing serious or nothing at all, really just kind of killing time. But in our brains, it feels like we have a full schedule. We wake up at certain time, we go to bed at certain time, and all that time that is left for living is already taken. And in part, it's true, because even if we have bad routines, there are still routines. There's certain order to what we do. Even if you sit every morning and eat breakfast for an hour because you also start watching something on YouTube or Netflix, and instead of sitting down eating breakfast with a full mindful approach, meaning not watching anything and distracting yourself with, but actually focusing on food, which has been proven to actually improve also weight balance if you focus on food and not watch anything at all, because there's something strange happening in our brains when we focus on things and really immerse ourselves in doing stuff. Our body responds differently to whatever we do. And in case of breakfast or any other meal, if we focus on eating and we do it mindfully, so every bite or every fork that we take, and we properly kind of first, grind with our mouths and feel the flavor of the food, then we swallow it so it properly goes through our digestive tract, and we don't distract ourselves with anything that that process of feeding yourself and digesting is more efficient, more fully understood and embraced by the body. And yeah, there are research that are showing quite fascinating results that people that eat more mindfully, not fast but mindfully, they get more benefits. Not only from the food itself, they are more balanced in terms of nutrition, they have less problems with digestive tract, with stomach pains, cramps, or anything like that, less problems with, intestines and actual pooping. So this is very, very, very interesting area. So if if we could just change that small things, for example, I never, well, 98% of time or 99% of time when I eat, I don't watch. There are moments every, I don't know, 10th or every 20th meal I might be watching something, but in general, even if my wife watches something and Julian watches something, I take my plate, I sit beside them, and try to not participate in whatever they do, but focus on what I have on the plate. Sometimes I, on purpose, sit sideways to them watching something to not look at the screen. And of course, there is a sound and there is a little bit of that distraction, but I try to not focus on that and eat. And it's kind of something that I've done for long because I used to watch when eating, and since I focus more on eating mindfully, it definitely helps. I don't remember when I had actual problems with digestion. There was one occurrence, but I suspect that I got some sort of poisoning, slight poisoning from food. Other than that, I have very healthy, poop, whatever you like to call it. I have very healthy, fairly healthy, I would say, my kind of digestive tract. I don't have any stomach pains or problems with digestion, and also my mouth feels fairly good. And when you sit down and watch, your meal takes a lot of time because it's entertainment, and not only you're not focusing on the food, so you kind of shove it up your mouth and not thinking about it, what you are actually digesting or what you're actually consuming, but also because you're watching something, it takes some time, and not only that lengthens the time of the meal, but very often, and it's quite popular, that people eat more when they watch, because when you shove it and you don't do it mindfully, then you don't feel like you're eating that much because your focus is on something that you watch. So your brain allows you to eat more because it needs to get that signal when you are fed. And sometimes it's very late that that signal comes when you are overfed already, and watching something makes it even harder. So yeah, double benefit. Not only you digest better, you shorten the time of your meal, but you also eat less because when you focus and eat something with, you know, full immersion, you know how much you ate, and you know when you don't want to eat anymore, even though your brain might still wait for that signal from the stomach that you are fed enough. So you can put the plate away and consciously stop the meal before you are overfed, which, believe me, makes a huge difference, and that's one of many simple hacks to look leaner, lose some weight, but what's most important, balance your weight. Because people focus too much about kilograms or pounds, and it's very often it's not about how much you weigh, but how much of your weight is the actual muscles versus fat. So sometimes people that exercise, they actually gain weight, but that gain is because they are changing the fat tissue into muscles that are more dense, they are heavier, and such causes the weight gain. But they are not getting fatter, they actually get leaner, yet their weight goes up. So it's a huge misconception and myth that surrounds us, and actually, unfortunately, is used as a by hyenas of marketing to sell us a lot of slimming programs or slimming products or foods that are supposed to make us lose weight, but we don't need to lose weight in most of the cases. Of course, we might want to lose some weight, but it will come off naturally when we start eating more consciously and more mindfully, because our body will not only regulate how much we eat, but also will focus more on balancing how much we should dispel, how much should be turned into other tissues than fat, and how much should be stored. And even that makes a huge difference. And there are plenty more simple hacks that you can apply to get leaner without really spending a dime on any program or any special food, which are really crap, to be honest. Like, I know there are research and they are true to that support things like sweeteners or you know sodas with zero sugar. There are some small alleviation, or I would say mitigations towards getting a little bit leaner or better weight or even a weight loss, but they are not as powerful as free things like eating properly, eating mindfully, exercising, hydrating yourself, and sleeping well. These are things that cost us pretty much nothing, and yet we neglect those things and rather go to some magic formulas, magic products, or programs that promise us lies and things that will never happen, because none of the diets or programs are for life. Most of them will never fit or suit our lifestyle. So even though we will maybe use them and even get effects of them, that we will drop weight or get in better shape, we will stop using them at some stage, and it will be a very short term solution, while we should be focusing on changes in life that are for life. So I completely diverged from the topic, but still we are in that sphere of replacing bad habits with good habits. And this was the example. The bad habit is just sitting, eating mindlessly something, watching, well, I don't want to say TV because, well, suppose that a lot of people still watch TV, but I'd say it's not trendy anymore. We all watch streaming on YouTube or Netflix, Hulu, whatever the Disney Plus or whatever subscriptions you have, or TV, and then we overeat as a result. If we change that to shutting down any screen during our meal, not only we are shortening the meal time, so we are gaining back time during the day to use it for anything else. You can apply it to any other routine or task that you want. So you're gaining time, you're eating more mindfully, so you're gaining health. I don't need to specify how much because in different areas your body will change and your mind will change because you are eating more mindfully. So you're saving on time, you're saving on food, to be honest, because you're eating less and more efficiently, and you are not overeating, which is very similar to the second point, but it's technically a different thing. You are not overeating anymore. You're stopping that. So you're gaining at least three things that are, believe me, over a longer period of time, they will have a huge impact on your mind, body, and just general feel of how you feel. So, with that, I'd like to give you a short update of what happened today, because this is journal podcast slash journal, and as you can see probably since yesterday or the day before, I start with more um, of a value delivery in the podcast rather than focusing on what I did last the last couple of hours or the current day, because that was the aim of that podcast. Start now, get perfect later. Obviously I will never get perfect, but I'll aim for it, and constantly changing the way of delivery, and I think that this delivery will be better. So I always talk about something to give you as a listener or watcher or reader, if you read the blog, some value, and then I'll update you about my own journaling part. So it's Wednesday today, and it was third day that we had to wake up. Well, maybe not too early, but around normal time that I used to start working. Except we had to drive third time to Bundaran, to Landstrand, where Julian participates in summer camp with Surfers School. It's Murph Surf School that are providing that surfing camp. It's 5 days, so we closed on third day today. There's 2 more days, tomorrow and Friday. Julian really enjoys it. Today the instructors changed, so for 2 days they were the same instructors, and today they were completely different guys. So I was a little bit kind of interested in how Julian will, react to that. But it turns out that the instructors are another bunch of great guys, and in fact, he liked one of the guys really, really much, because he must have been, I would say, focused more on delivering for kids. And some people just have a good character to deliver to kids, and kids listen to them better. And this guy seemed to be like that. We had a chat after the surfing, and when Julian was kind of changing clothes, I had a quick chat with the instructor, and he said that Julian is natural in surfing. He picks up quickly, but not only picks up quickly, but he understands how to balance himself, how to move even on the board, to use the wave that is coming, even though normally he might have missed the wave. He uses the body balance to catch the wave that was totally wasted for some. and he even changed the stance during the serve. So it's amazing to hear that, especially from a perspective somebody that is completely third party and not ourselves. We as a parents, we always see kids in a better light than probably a person from a third perspective. But if you hear that from a completely um, complete stranger, to be honest, after one day of dealing with Julian, that not only tells a lot about that person, that they actually focused on and observed kids, how they perform, to give them advice and teach them something, but also were able to deliver a proper feedback around the progress. And if you consider 3 days, that's not a lot in any discipline. You can't really do much in 3 days, but if you see any progress within 3 days span, that's a good sign. So I hope that it's something that Julian will like more and more. Other than that, the day was quite dull. We came back to our place while Julian was on the surfing camp because we had scheduled house viewing. We are looking to buy a house potentially in the area. So we're looking and exploring what is available and what options do we have before making any decision. And believe me, if I don't believe there are any watchers from Ireland. Based on analytics, I don't see many people from Ireland watching it. If you are from Ireland, you know what I talk about. But for those that of you that are not, Ireland is currently at least the most expensive country in Europe in terms of living cost, housing, etc. So we are in a very difficult position, and the government is in a very difficult position to change that because house prices are enormous. You probably, for the average price of a house in Ireland, here, even in Donegal, which is quite a rural area, you can get in many countries that are well developed, you could get a decent luxury house, while here you're getting just average house, and it's very difficult to get one. So we'll see how it develops. I'm fortunate to earn enough money to support my family, even though it's earned by working for someone. It's still good to have that privilege of not worrying too much about the cost of living, even though it is costly. And of course, we have some worries. We don't live any luxury life, and even though we have enough funds to live month to month, you can see the difference in prices, difference in cost of living, difference in the bills. So I feel really for those that got caught off guard after the changes in prices. The conflict on Ukraine had a big influence on the cost and inflation and general change of cycle on the market, where multiple companies went under, a lot of stocks went down, which means that companies are in a difficult positions, and people buy less because they are more conscious and more concerned about spending money. So it's not as easy as it used to be to just sell anything to people. You actually need to deliver something of value and convince people that this is something that they want to spend money on. So these are days that are probably difficult for not only for those that are buying, but also for those that are selling. And despite seeing the sign of slight uptake and recovery, we are probably still about a year from now until the market bounces back to average levels that are considered healthy. So, yeah, I hope you don't have those problems or worries. If you do and you have questions, please feel free to feedback to any of my channels. You can do it on YouTube, Spotify. Well, Spotify is probably not the best one, but YouTube comments, or you can just hit me on Instagram or Twitter. You can even DM me. That's not a problem for me. I'd really like to hear anything from you. Other than that, today was quite dull. A lot of work, afternoon meetings, and we just finished dinner, hence me recording this episode. So let me wrap up and get to writing the blog post. If you're interested in reading the blog post, it's always slightly different than what I record here, and it's complementary to the podcast, or rather, podcast is complementary to the blog because blog idea was first, and that started this project in 2022. But regardless, they are both coming together as one daily project, and as this, I'd like to see it and deliver it. Once again, thank you very much for spending that 27 almost minutes with me. That's a very precious 27 minutes of your time in life that you spent with me, so I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for that, and stay tuned. See you for tomorrow.